My name is Bree Thomas, and I write code with ModeSet. We are a Denver-based product consultancy. We specialize in early stage to mid-stage startup software development. We also do a lot of creative coding. We've got various interactive installations in art museums and work with some other brands, interactive games and things of that nature. In fact, we host a creative tech meetup, which if you're interested, I'm just going to do the plug really quick. It's happening next Thursday, Creative Tech. If you have questions, hit us up after and be happy to tell you more about that. But all of your creative coding curiosities are satisfied in that meetup usually, monthly basis. I'm also the chapter lead. Good Lord. Sorry. I'm gonna ruin the punchline every time here. Okay, so I also run the Denver chapter for Girl Develop It. Girl Develop It is a national nonprofit that is dedicated to bringing professional level software education to adult women and doing so in a judgment-free, non-scary, very supportive environment. But this whole code thing, I haven't always been a developer. In fact, I spent over a decade in branding and marketing. I know. So I've been clean for about 2 years. It's, usually I bill myself as a recovering marketer, but I've been clean. I've been clean for 2 years. Incidentally, though, marketing is actually what I want to talk to you about today. I know, right? But not today's marketing. I've actually got a pretty serious bone to pick with 1984. And where better to start than with the most iconic, celebrated advertisement of all time. That is Apple's 1984 Super Bowl commercial, where we have Anya Major, a female force to be reckoned with. I mean, she is running, she's swinging, she's slinging the sledgehammer. And she is the poster child for what effectively was a revolution in tech, the introduction of the Apple Macintosh. I mean, holy girl power. This is some lady inspiring shit, right, on a tech commercial. I love it. It's also actually pretty ironic in that there's something else very significant about 1984. 1984 is when we saw the beginning of a very stark decline of women in tech. So in the 70s and early 80s, we as women were on track to graduate with as many computer science degrees as men by the year 2000. And yet, we pretty much just kind of fell off the face of the earth here. So what the hell happened? Well, that's exactly what NPR tried to answer in their Planet Money report. They did a report called When Women Stopped Coding, and I highly recommend you look for it and check it out. It's very informative. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes here, okay? And they cited 2 major reasons for this decline. The first, marketing. Right? Now, as one who used to practice in the dark arts, it came as no surprise to me that early computers were marketed almost exclusively to men. I know, I love that. It's good. And toy marketers, who, by the way, are notorious for dictating gender roles, toy marketers really glommed onto the early computer craze, which, early computers were used for light processing and a lot of gaming, right? And so toy marketers really build computers as boy things, not girl things, especially through video games. You saw that a lot. Now, bless their heart, not all marketers were evil, right? There were certainly some that tried to appeal to girls. Take, for instance, this fabulous Atari Computer Camp ad, where the marketers are espousing all the great reasons why girls might like to go to computer camps, right? Recreational opportunity, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, great teachers. But let's just make sure in the last 2 lines that we do not forget to state the totally obvious why girls might want to go to computer camps. 'Cause boys. I mean, you can't make this shit up, right? And so this gender biased marketing, it gave rise to a new culture. The nerd and geek stereotype that I'm sure we're all familiar with from the 80s was born. And it was very, very, very specific about the personality traits, the aesthetic, the social graces or lack thereof, just saying, of one who is good at computers. And I can tell you that I am not represented here. But it's not 1984, right? I mean, why am I even talking about this, right? Who cares? It's not 1984. That was ages ago. Well, funny, it's still a problem. It's still an issue because when women don't see themselves, or they haven't seen themselves for a very, very long time, as candidates in a certain role or a certain job, then we have a diversity problem, right? When we don't address a decline in diversity, we dig a very, very, very deep hole for ourselves. And I said I wanted to talk to you today about marketing, right? Well, really what I want to talk to you about is remarketing. It's not the 1980s anymore. We don't have the great PC wars happening. I'm sure not all of us are going to come together and pool together the money for a Super Bowl ad, which I can promise you is very expensive. But we can change the culture and the stereotype and the perceptions and the thinking around us within our own communities about women in tech and what that looks like and how exciting it can be for a woman to be in tech and why a woman should get into tech. And I have some ideas for you on that. And I think the best place to start is, step 1 is let's champion some pioneers. I mean, absolutely don't want to take anything away from, say, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but God, you know, there was a whole bevy of lovely ladies that came before them that made computers and the progression in tech possible. And so let's talk about them. Ada Lovelace, right, designed some of the first computer designs. Alan Turing based his modern computers of the 1940s on her work. Grace Hopper, queen of software, first female programmer. She created the first compiler for a computer programming language. One of my favorites, Hedy Lamarr, Hollywood starlet. Also billed once as one of the most beautiful women in the world. She also co-patented radio guidance frequency for torpedoes, which the principles of which is what our modern Wi-Fi is based on. And then while we're at it, right, when we champion these pioneers, let's also work towards painting a new stereotype. Let's paint a new stereotype of what one who is good at computers looks like. And some examples that we can draw on are Stephanie Hannon. She's the first female CTO of a major presidential campaign. She's currently serving for Hillary Clinton. We can also look at Kaya Thomas, Dartmouth computer science major. When she was in high school, she started a STEM camp for high school girls. It's pretty amazing. One of my favorites is Reshma Saujani. She's Indian American. She ran she's first Indian American female to run for US Congress. She also created a program, Girls Who Code, and she frequently champions bravery over perfectionism for girls, which is a really important message. And most important, when we're looking at remarketing, and we're thinking about getting women into tech and being welcoming, we have to start earlier. So think about all the young women that you know in your life, whether that's through churches, whether that's through your own children, whether that's through schools, whether that's through friends who have children, whatever it is, find ways to work into the conversation exciting women in tech. Find ways to work into the conversation why we need more girls in tech, because it isn't just about gender, right? It's really about the importance of diversity. And when we don't have diverse teams, then our teams are stagnant. And the work product can't innovate, and we lose a lot of very needed perspective. So absolutely start early. And these days, there are a ton of resources out there to help you. I'd be happy to talk to you about any of these that are listed up here afterwards, but just to get you started, Google Made with Code, if you haven't looked at that, you should absolutely look there. It's a wonderful program. Encouraging and getting girls involved, young girls involved in writing code and learning about careers in code. Girls Who Code, Girl Develop It, Black Girls Code, JewelBots. There's even, this is only a few. There's a lot more resources out there. So I think now is the time when we continue to see and hear and talk about the gender gap in tech. It doesn't mean that we can't do anything about it, right? There are actually small things that we can do that are really as simple as marketing. That's it.